this and I'll put it up. You guys don't need this, but don't worry about it. Camtasia is a fancy little thing. It lets us move things. There we go. If I make a selection, it's a fancy little thing that's going to let me capture my screen and upload it to YouTube. So if you do want to find it, you can refer back to it later. Basically. Yay! If it so welcome to Photoshop. Cuts it out. This is the overall interface when you first fire up the program. I wanted to make a selection of just this. Everybody has this on the screen, yes? Anybody know why I didn't do a visual follow along with me right now? And feel free to poke at things.
That is correct.
I do not have a layer selected. Is just like every other Adobe layer selected to be able to do anything. They have the menu bar at the top. The standard interface has the toolbar. This to the left is the marquee tool. We touched on and then panels basically make whatever you feel like inside of them. Selections are these little dancing color. It has swatches. I don't like that. Those are the two most useless things that I've found on the face of the planet. If you're doing something in InDesign or Illustrator, the lasso tool. But in Photoshop, is like a pen. Not so much. If I click and drag, there are adjustments. Look at the start point and the end point. Very rarely use that. It's like a layer style. Whatever I've got. Adjustments are interesting. So if I delete that, if you're not familiar with what a layer is, think of it like a sandwich. It lets me try to draw bread, then you have lettuce, then you have tomatoes. You're really good at the lasso tool. Bread. That is the same thing as the way Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign all deal with layered documents. To be able to hold down my finger. You can see that I don't have anything in my layers right now because there's nothing open. Layers, channels, and paths are the three most important. No, that's a dog joke. Don't show again. Layers, channels, and paths in this tab are three of the most important tools that you're going to be using in Photoshop. The lasso tool is good for very quick grabs. What has been taught across the same thing, the nation. Remember, layers are king. You get the polygonal. If you want to make a change and you want to go back, use a layer. And it gives you want to make a change and you don't want to change everything at once. You can mask it. Masking means you hide a part of it. You can go back and reveal it again if you want to. Double click to close. We'll get to that. Or channels. You just go back to this little spot, and then you get a little circle around. Have heard the term RGB? I am going to close this. What does it mean? What are channels? Identical to the marquee tool. What are they though? Red, blue, this guy here, green. Magnetic lasso channels. CMYK. If you've ever used Photoshop, you probably use this. C from CS3 on, it's been a part magenta. You click once. Y, yellow, K. And what it does is each of those is an individual channel. The easiest way to work with anything in Photoshop is an RGB. It's sticking to the white. And we can get into a color space. Because I started on the white right now if you want. Basically what it's doing is it's looking for contrast between two colors or tones. It's being recorded up here. You don't need that thing. But channels makes a selection for you. Going to be very useful at some point in time very soon to you all. We're not going to get into it because if you accidentally goof, well, we can get into it pretty deep, but we're not going to today. It's kind of a smart tool, and I say kind of, can be vector. Kind of a smart tool. Vector in Photoshop. Mind blown. We've already covered the quick selection tool. It will support Basically, it's the same thing as the lasso tool. You can have a layer that is a vector mask. Basically, it's an infinitely scalable paint in where you want to select, and it gets that will, or vector objects. You want to change the brush size. There's a lot you can do with it, but you use the pen tool without paths to make that happen. Up at the top here, you have some standard stuff. Do you know how to change the hardness? Preset tools. Yes. Auto select is probably the most useful thing that you will never know about. If you have multiple layers and you see them with transparencies, shift brackets on top of another. I can tell you, you want to just click on something and move on it, move it without having to grab the layer. Told it to me, and I didn't go bothering to look through the actual keyboard shortcuts to see it. Transform controls. Let me show you the difference between a hard brush and a soft brush. I'll get something up here in a second. A hard brush, and all this stuff at the top here, this is all alignment. So if you have two layers, two objects, and you want to make sure that they're, centered, you want to make sure that they're aligned to the right, to the left, the toolbar, distributed distance, blah, blah, blah. You can do that with the size and the shape. There's a whole bunch of some 3D controls that you can use as well if you are working with 3D objects. I just want circles. Photoshop will support 3D objects. It's kind of awesome. You can edit video in Photoshop. C-spot. Did you know that? Yes, thank you. Boop. Did you care? Kind of, maybe, somewhere in between. It's limited. It's a billiard ball. But you can. Woo. You can also animate in Photoshop. You can't export a SWF or anything like that. You can't export HTML5. Appear to have depth? You can animate. You can export a GIF. Funny cat pictures, things like that. Up at the top here, if you click on the menus, you see lots of other stuff. Most of it being grayed out right now. We're used to perceiving objects in 3 dimensions. Mode, adjustment, blah, blah, blah. What you don't see available, even though it's obviously not, means you can't use it. Which also means you can't do anything with it because we don't have anything open. So let's go ahead and grab a file and then open it up. The black dot. If you go to week 1 of that, and the depth under in-class lab selections, there's a little JPEG right there. Basically, when you see that, you're seeing lighting and download. That's it. Lighting, positioning, things like that. I hit it over here. You know, if it opens up in your browser like this, would be behind it if you didn't see the actual blob. If you're on a Windows machine, the easiest way to save an image straight to your desktop. If you really lazy and you want to like do something like drag, make a circle, little corner down here. If you mouse over that, look like it's got depth. It'll take you to the desktop. And then while you're holding, just drag it up here, linear gradient, and then it'll copy that file from the browser to wherever. It's a really easy way to grab images offline. Remember, the important thing to take away is brackets. Once you have it there, and then go ahead and open it up in Photoshop. And if you're doing it, you'll see it increase or decrease. Either by clicking and dragging down to the icon selection, and you want to make a nice soft and then wait for the window to open up. Soft brush. And then if you want to make a change, you want to paint it in somewhere. Or double click it and then tell it to, hopefully it'll open. If you're going for a hard edge, in preview. Use a hard brush. There's nothing worse than seeing stuff that's photoshopped together that is supposed to have a hard edge and has a soft edge. Somebody's face with a transition into a background. You don't want to see the background through somebody's face. You want to see their face. Make sense? I will ominously say, you will all get practice, and such. Because practice makes perfect, and it's the only way to learn. Magic Wand tool. Anybody know what that does? It's basically the same as the Quick Select tool, with the exception that you can set the tolerance. You can say, I have a tolerance of 10. A lower number is more precise. If I have a tolerance of 10 and I click here, it's only going to grab colors that are similar to that white. If I hold down Shift, I can add to that selection. But you can see it's only grabbing teeny tiny little portions, not everything. If I set the tolerance to, I don't know, 50, try that again. It grabs everything. Almost everything. Close to everything. It still misses some of the darker spots. If I set the tolerance to then, I don't know, like 100, it grabs more of everything. And doesn't do a terrible job, but it does miss this paw. See that? Is that a stretch or a question? Oh, stretch. Stretchin'. Awesome. Yeah. I don't know. I can go in depth in all these tools. Do you want me to just tell you what they are, or do you want me to go and show you what they do? All right. So Quick Select is for good, clean, contrasted images. Magic Wand, not so much.
I'm wondering why my list doesn't look yours. I don't have that selection.
Right click it. It's under, right here, click on that. The one with the brush and the circle. Adobe likes to hide all of their tools underneath other tools. And it's especially bad in Flash because you can't right click it. You have to like option click and then cycle through it. It's really a pain. Hopefully none of you have to learn Flash. Is it on the docket for anyone? Do you know? Yeah? Awesome. Woo! Nonlinear animation. Yeah! It's not that bad. Anyway, this thing looks like two cross thingamajigs, measuring tools. It is the crop tool. If you select that, you get handles. You can adjust the window, rotate, twist, do whatever you want. If I say okie dokie, it crops that image to that size. What's really handy about the crop tool, you can plug in dimensions here. 4 IN for inches, 5 IN for inches. It will crop and size it for me. And then you know it fits the output print. It's handy. You can also set a DPI in there too. but you have to go down to size and resolution. If you're rocking CS5 or CS4, there's a resolution box that sits right here. For some reason, they hid it behind a menu in CS6. I don't know why. But if you want it at 4x5 at 200 DPI, you can do that. Boom. And it automatically upsamples when I crop it. So it's pretty handy. Let's see, what else we got? Perspective crop tool, yes.
You mean it upsamples when you crop it? That means it kept the same resolution?
Nope, it added pixels in. When I say upsample, it's adding. Downsample is subtracting pixels. Resample is basically changing the size. Well, I'm not going to say that. You can change the. Remember what I showed you guys this? You can change the dimensions if you're not resampling it. So you can have a 546-inch image, but you're going to have 1 pixel per inch, roughly. If you resample it, and you take that 546-inch image and you want it 200 DPI, you now have a 41 gig file, as opposed to a 2 megabyte file. It's a big difference. If I say okay to that, I'm going to kill the machine. Aww. Let's see what it does.